You ever went to a store that you normally wouldn't tip at, and then they flip an iPad around and it gives you tip options of like 15, 18, 20% for something you would never tip before for ever? That's what's happening right now, not just in Canada, in the United States as well. We're getting a crazy new form of tipping culture that is out of control.
Look, I have no problem with tipping. My girlfriend was a server. I have a million friends that are bartenders, DJs, hairdressers. And I've said it before, Italians from New York, we'll tip a gynecologist. I don't give a shit. It's not the tipping. It's these new businesses we never used to tip using the iPad against us. We got Froyo last night, and it was serve yourself. Then when I go to pay, the kid at the register is like, they're just gonna ask you a question. And the question says, how much tip do you want to leave? I was like, what the fuck am I tipping you for? It was literally serve yourself. I grabbed the container. I pulled that lever. I even sprinkled the cookie dough bites. If anybody's been getting a tip around here, it's me. And how come we don't tip anybody at McDonald's or Subway, but then when you go to some hippy dippy coffee shop, they gotta do that iPad turn around thing and just like, I want to look you in the eyes as you rip my fucking heart out. You want tips? Why don't you start with charging less than $22 for a cafe con leche, River? How about we start there? Besides, the guy behind you is doing all the work, and I didn't even taste it yet. What if I don't like it? What am I tipping you for? So you can buy more games from the 80s and put it on that shelf? Who's playing Guess Who anyway? Half the faces are missing.
Yeah. And honestly, it's definitely an iPad thing partially, but a lot of it also is just companies in general. They feel like it's an added bonus to say, hey, you can get tips here. That's why we're paying you so bad. So companies definitely take advantage of this new form of tipping culture. And honestly, it's brutal. It feels like you're put under pressure every time you go out anywhere because you don't know if you're going to be met with one of these iPads. Doesn't matter where you go anymore, right? No one is safe from the iPad.
American tipping culture has gone crazy. I'm from Canada, and every single time I go to a restaurant, they automatically add tip. Like, they even add like gratuity, even if there's like a party of two. On top of that, they ask for more tip.
Oh God,
It's free.
guys, I just got scammed. I didn't know they added a tip, and I tipped her like $10 extra.
You live in the U.S. Are you not used to this?
No, okay, listen, in Minnesota, they only add gratuity if it's like a party of 6 or more.
Yeah, so I know it depends on the restaurant, but some restaurants, if you have a big party size, they will put automatic gratuity. But for the most part, that is brutal. To just add tips on regardless, if you're even a party of two, that seems pretty sus.
You're no longer allowed to not tip. Watch. So the internet was really mad at this picture where this guy went out to a restaurant, he spent $20.95, and when you go to the tipping options, you get the no tip option covered up with tip, thank you. This guy was baffled, so he took a picture and he posted it on the internet. And of course, the people were going insane in the comments, saying that they would have ripped these things off and hit the no tip option. But some people were saying that the no tip option should be taken out completely, forcing a mandatory tip every time you go out. But that begs the question, what should be tipped and what shouldn't? Because there is self-checkout machines asking for tips. And a lot of people are put off by this in the first place. They wouldn't even leave a tip. They wouldn't even go to this place to eat. But what do you guys think about this situation? If you were in this situation, would you have left a tip or not? Or would you have just peeled that off and hit the no tip? Let me know in the comments. Like, share, and follow. And this is your Bald News Backup. Mandatory tipping for this?
Yeah, mandatory tipping is pretty ridiculous, but it almost feels like it's mandatory if they're flipping that iPad around and they give you the puppy dog stare, and you're like, well, I guess, what's the lowest option? Like, what, 10%, 15% tip?
Thank you so much for your purchase. I'm just gonna spin this iPad around. Sure. No pressure. I would just pick something over here. Did you really only pick 75%? I have a family. Guys, this piece of disrespecting garbage only picked a 75% tip. Oh my God, Emma Nation, this just only tipped 75%. You monster! Why I oughta lock you up. Wow. Hold on, I can change it.
Honestly. And some of the options for pricing on these tips is ridiculous too. Some places that I'll go to, and this is not just the iPad, this will just be regular restaurants. Why is the minimum gratuity 18 to 20%? It always used to be 15% was like the minimum, or some places 10%. Like if you went to a restaurant and the service is bad, the food wasn't great, and you weren't someone that was going to like make a scene, be like, oh, I didn't like the food, can you send it back? If you're not one of those people, usually you would give the medium or like the littlest amount tip, which would be 10%. To see like 20% now sometimes is the lowest is insane.
Tell me why I just got frozen yogurt, which is self-serve, you do it all yourself, and at the end there was a tipping screen? For what? Like, what are you talking about? What? Am I tipping you for just simply existing and like being present at your job? It's so weird. I was a server for many years, so I completely understand tipping culture and the fact that you should tip people providing you a service. Why? Please. I always tip every single time there is like a screen that pops up asking for a tip. I give a tip. That is just getting absolutely outrageous. And I think what makes me the most mad is it just gives companies an excuse to like not pay their employees well because they rely on tips. If it's not a job where they're actually performing a service, pay your employees a fair wage instead. How about that? Rocket science.
Wow, okay, so I was saying that literally earlier in the video. It gives companies an excuse to pay less and say, don't worry, there is tips. We do tips at our establishment, but hey, you know, you want to save money, you don't want to tip anywhere, just don't go out, just stay in. Oh wait, you can't do Uber Eats, you can't do any other food service delivery because you'll also have to pay tips. You know what, just go to the grocery store and wait, inflation has hit groceries really bad, so you're gonna probably pay more than you would anyways because of the inflation crisis for groceries. I guess, I don't know, just sit there and do nothing.
Enter your tip and sign here.
Fine. You want a tip? It's self-serve. We did all the work.
Hey, that iPad didn't swivel itself.
Oh. 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 The service fee is already included?
Actually, there is room at the bottom for an additional gratuity.
What? They include the tip and then I have to tip on top of the tip? A tip-top tip? I'll show them.
I know that click.
No, thank you. Here's $1. Okay, we're leaving.
Yep, that's kind of how it feels like, right? Everywhere you go, there's always an iPad being swiveled around with an option of 20% on the low end, all the way up to like 30% tip. And then of course you can always do a custom tip as well, but not every iPad provides that. Anyways, let me know your thoughts about this crazy new world we're living in with their tipping culture just going out of control. I'd love to know your thoughts about that. And let me know down below where the weirdest place you've ever had to have a tip that was forced upon you. Like, let me know when the weirdest place or where the weirdest place had an iPad swivel with tip options. I'm assuming there's got to be some random ones that I even haven't thought about or haven't experienced yet. Let me know them down below in the comment section. With that being said, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.